you'll see the green
Green.
light.
Conscientious about the mic. To alert her, but it might be good if she walks down with it. Probably more comfortable with. Oh, I see, right or left.
Do a check.
Do you turn them on?
Turn them
Yeah.
on.
And we speak now.
Exactly.
Hello, Betty. I heard my voice.
Hello, Cynthia. I don't hear my voice.
I do. You look exceptionally
you?
beautiful tonight.
Oh, how wonderful.
And Anthony, why don't you have your Batman shirt on? I really liked that. Except I never see Batman. I always see the mouth. Do you ever, when you look at that?
Hello? Hello? So how does it sound into the live stream, or is that something you all control? Okay.
Patty, can you hear me? Am I too loud? No? Because I have a loud voice. I have a loud, there's only one voice louder than mine. Sheila.
Testing. Hello, hello.
Did you hear
I
yourself?
think, yes,
So let's turn it off so the mic is. So are you going to be our director? Okay, I don't see Betty, but we are going to begin. You want to turn on your mics?
It's showtime.
they're playing for now, calming
Okay.
their nerves.
We ready?
We are ready.
Ready?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good evening to those here in attendance and to our family and friends with us at home via live stream. The St. Anastasia chapter of the Ladies Philoptochos Society welcomes you tonight for our Live at 5 with our special guests, Father Dimitri and his wife, Presbytera Natalie. Father, would you care to give a blessing?
Absolutely. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord our God, we give thanks to you for the blessing of our St. Catherine parish family. We ask you, Lord, to unite us to one another, that in our ministries and in our growth, we may continue to do your good work in this city and in our community. We ask you, Lord, to bless our Ladies Philoptochos in all of their beautiful endeavors to serve those in need, most especially now during these trying times of this pandemic. We ask you also, Lord, to grant to them health and perfect peace. For you are our God, and we give glory to you now and forever. Amen.
Thank you, Father. First off, our chapter wishes to acknowledge and thank Anthony Linderman and Sparrow Manas, whose efforts made this night possible. And to Father and Presbytera, thank you for your enthusiasm and your spirit of joining us in this unique format tonight. You ready? No turning back?
No turning back now.
Nope, nope. I'd like to have you each describe your childhood, adolescence, young adulthood, your parents, your sibling, the importance of your Orthodox faith, obviously, in all of this, as well as your educational and professional experiences. I like to call it the origins of you. So, Presbytera, you have the honors.
Let's see. So my childhood, my origins are, my father is actually Lebanese and my mother is Greek. I was born in Athens, Greece, and I spent my childhood traveling a lot. My father was a businessman, an international businessman, so we lived in a variety of countries. I had quite an experience of meeting different people and getting to know different cultures. When I came to the United States, I was about 13 years old. We settled just outside of Atlanta, actually Marietta, where Bishop Sebastian was my childhood priest. And I joined the dance ministry where I became very close to the Orthodox community in the United States because there's such a strong bond between dance groups in different churches.
Culture.
And that really, it fostered in me a love for the faith that carried me into my adolescence and adulthood. I went to college here in Florida at USF and continued to stay connected to the church. I went to St. Nicholas as my parish and then met my husband at that parish. I have two brothers who are, one is older, one is younger. We are still an international family. I have a brother living in Dubai. I have a father who is technically permanently in Lebanon, though right now here in the US. I have, my mom is still in Atlanta. My brother's in Cleveland with some other families, so I'm very much a nomad and I travel and visit as much as we can, right?
Beautiful. Father? Same question.
Same question. I grew up in Tarpon Springs, Florida, Epiphany City, USA, our claim to fame. And I have two younger sisters, Callie, Calliope, and Bonnie, Vasilia. We grew up in a very close-knit family. It's an interesting dynamic growing up in Tarpon Springs with the last name Mott. But we learned our Greek there, and we had such a beautiful Greek culture, and you know, we had a family with those that we went to school with. There was a closeness, that small town vibe, if you will. And then I continued at SPC and then on at USF to continue my studies. And Natalie and I met when I was invited to a choral group that was being formed there with college students, young adults in Tarpon Springs. I was a psalty there at the time. I was not a dancer and involved in the dance group, but I did like the musical aspect of our church, and I was very involved with that. So they brought me in, and Natalie and I had never met before because she didn't grow up in Tarpon, but as a college student, she got involved with a dance ministry. So I recall asking the advisor there, who is this girl? I've never seen her before. I know everyone here, but I don't know who this is. So Presbitera definitely caught my eye from the moment that I first saw her. And that's where we met and got to know each other via college and the church there. And then we married and moved up to Brookline, and the shoveling of the snow and the seminary and the beautiful experiences at Holy Cross, where Nico was born during that huge snowstorm of 3-4 feet piled up in Boston. And we'll pause there for now, as we have, I'm sure, other questions post-seminary.
Thank you. Well, now we're going to let the games begin. And I direct you to the board, our up-close board. You can see there's 12 questions, various numbers, and you will take turns selecting a card. And Betty Pizzi, our host and producer, will pose the questions. Betty?
I'll turn this a little so that you can see. They're randomly numbered. I'm not sure.
So we're picking the numbers?
You'll choose the number.
Okay.
And then I will read the question.
Okay.
Now. So we'll start with Presbitera. And which number would you like?
I'll go with number 8.
Oh, my favorite number. Let's see. Oh. Well, this question is not for you. This question is for Father, number 8. What part of pastoral care What part of pastoral care do you enjoy the most and the least?
Pastoral care for myself, and I think for most of my brother clergy that I speak to, is the best part and possibly the worst part of being a priest. Pastoral care involves being there for people during the highs and the lows. And when I say the worst part, I don't mean being there for people in the lows, because actually I get a lot of personal satisfaction, if you will, when I'm there for people when they call me after a death or a crisis, and I'm able, hopefully, to be there for them in some way. But pastoral care also requires and entails being an ear when people disagree with us, when people perhaps don't like things about us, when people perhaps are just angry, and we end up needing to be somewhat of that ear. I won't use a stronger image. That's necessary. But that's part of the cross that we bear, that Christ calls us to bear, that we are able to turn the cheek. And I try, though many times I'm not successful with it, but I try to hold that example for my flock. As a pastor, we can't preach, forgiveness and turning the cheek and forgiving those who hurt us if we can't practice it and try to live it ourselves. So the best part of pastoral care is being there for the weddings and dancing and celebrating and hugging the bride and groom and sharing in their joy, and the baptisms, being there for people to cry with them in their time of need at funeral services. But it's the low parts of being prepared to have our egos squashed and taking it and focusing on Jesus Christ and ultimately the fact that we're servants. And it's hard. I have an ego just as much as anyone else, and I pray to God constantly to help me just to let it go.
So, Father, would you like to select a number?
Sure. How about Presbytera number 3? We're about to have 3 children. That's a number on my mind a lot these days.
Okay, number 3. Oh, and the question is one that you've already answered.
Oh,
It was, Presbytera, we understand that you met Father Dimitri in college. Can you tell us a little about the event or circumstances of the first meeting? Since he answered it, do you have anything that you would have wanted to add to that?
yeah, I will say, he spoke about his instant interest, and I think it became an instant friendship, definitely. We became very good friends very quickly. But one thing I loved very much about our friendship and that initial period of getting to know each other is it also brought me so much closer to the church, and it showed me a depth of the church that I hadn't experienced prior to meeting him. And I think that's my favorite part of our relationship, is that he brought something that mattered to me he brought it more fully into my life. He would teach me the chants of the church. He would ask me to stand with him at the stand at the Analogion with him, and I would read the hymns, and I learned so much more about our faith just in the time of getting to know him. And I think that's something that's so special about the foundation of our friendship and our relationship, is that at the center of it, was our faith in the beginning, and still is today. And this is the nature
I know you love board games.
the nature of parenthood. Okay, it's okay.
Nico, would you like to select a number from this board? They have questions for your parents. Is there a special number that you would like to select, one that we can ask them? Take it, yeah. Can you read it?
Oh, it might be.
Good job. Okay. Well, the question that you selected is for your dad.
Oh.
Is there anyone that you turn to, Father, for guidance, for ministering to a parish, perhaps a spiritual father? And what is the best advice you've received?
Maybe Betty, the microphone could go a little higher. Maybe that's the issue.
I'm
Raise it
so
up a
sorry.
bit.
Okay, can you hear me now? I may need to hold this. Okay. The question is for Father. Is there anyone you turn to for guidance, for ministering to a parish, perhaps a spiritual father? What is the best advice you have ever received?
It's a great question, and the answer is I have a father confessor, a priest that I go to for confession and for my own, to take my own spiritual temperature periodically as Dimitri Mott, the priest. But I also have a lot, I have a beautiful base of clergy, my contemporaries, but many that are well beyond me in terms of their years of service that I've been blessed to cross paths with in Boston, at the seminary, retirees that I've met along the way, who I've tried to cultivate relationships and to receive the tremendous honey that they've been able to learn and to gain during their ministry. And so I frequently pick up the phone when I have challenging situations to get their take on things. And I think it's important because the reality is a lot of the priesthood can only really be understood by other priests. And so having that base of priest friends, as you know, late night conversations, Presbytera always knows when I'm on the phone with another priest. It's been a tremendous help for me, a fountain of strength in my ministry. I would consider it to be absolutely my lifeline. If I didn't have other clergy that I could turn to talk to, and to get their guidance, I don't know what I would do.
Would you like to select a question?
Let's go with number 1. Is it on?
We'll get this.
Presbytera, this question is for you. If we were to speak to your brothers,
It's not on.
Oh, it's better when you hold it right in front.
Cynthia, you have a good mic there, I can tell. I can hear it.
And this is live. Okay. Presbytera, if we were to speak to your sisters and, not sisters, your brothers and best friends, what words would they use to describe you?
Oh. Perhaps you should speak to my husband. This is always a hard question to answer because it's hard to take yourself out of your perspective. I think my friends would call me creative and crafty. I am very much a crafty person. I enjoy working with my hands and I enjoy using my creativity.
And it's worth noting when you talk about creativity, the set of vestments I wore last Easter, Presbytera sewed for me.
I'm an amateur, but I like a challenge. So maybe a little determined then. I think a word many people use to describe me is patient, though the people I live with know better that it's really a challenge of mine. I can be patient when I need to be, but I think pregnancy takes it away partially, but also it is something that's a constant struggle. I hope they know me as faithful, and I hope one day I'm known for my service to others.
Thank you, Cynthia. All right, Father, would you select a number, please?
Number 9.
Oh. Father, when you have free time from your duties, what activities or sports do you most enjoy pursuing with your family or alone?
The truth is, and I'm really not trying to play a prima donna card with this or the poor lamb, but ever since having kids, it's been real tough having time for myself. I try to keep that perhaps workaholic tendency I may have in check, and Presbytera does a good job keeping me in check with that. But I try to spend time with my kids as much as I can. I don't want them to grow up and resent me or the church that my dad never had time for us. And the church has got to understand that we need our priest, and we want our priest to be a family man and to be someone who spends time with his kids as well. One hopeful area that I used to love back in Florida was fishing, but I never would go out fishing in Massachusetts. That just never happened, even in the summertime. And Nico is taking a liking to fishing. If Nico's around anywhere, maybe he could tell us about his desire to fish. So I hope the two of us, and Ileana too, can possibly take that up. I found fishing to be, as we know, biblical, but also relaxing and just a way to decompress. I enjoy cooking too.
He's
when
the
I
better
really get
cook
in
the family. Absolutely the better cook.
I enjoy cooking. When I make time for it, I really enjoy it, and yeah, that's therapeutic for me as well.
Dana, would you select a number?
Is it my number or oh?
Well, you can select
yeah,
the
you're
number.
Right. I'll go with number 4.
Oh, number 4. Okay. Let's try 4. Oh, and this question is for you. Was there a course at the seminary such as Presbytera 101, or where there was someone able to advise and guide you on becoming a presbytera, and what was the best advice you were given?
I'm curious about that as well, in terms of the best advice you've been given.
There was not an official course, but while I was there was a group, I don't think it was called the Presbyteras group, maybe a wives group. None of us were presbyteras at the time.
We all called it the future presbytery.
Maybe, I can't. I think it was wives group, and it was for the wives of seminarians, and we'd gather regularly, and it was sponsored by the Archdiocese Center for Family Care, which is fantastic. They're putting so much effort into fostering that care for families, which it's benefited us very much. But it gave an opportunity for us to be together as sister seminarian wives and to have a place of vulnerability and honesty where we met with different presbyteras who would come and visit and share their experiences. We discussed the realities of parish life and ministry. It was very, very fulfilling for me in a sense that it also developed for me friendships with women who are now presbyteras, and I call them my sisters openly and full-heartedly. I love them, and the relationships that were developed in that group and at the seminary are the relationships that carry me, much like he has his brother priests who he calls late at night. I have my sisters who I call and cry with, or discuss challenges with, or ask questions, and that is something that has really been fundamentally helpful for me. Mm-hmm.
Number 10.
10. Okay. Oh, another question for Presbytera. You're really lucky. Okay. What added elements or perhaps challenges does being a presbytera bring to the marriage and the family?
I think it's difficult because my husband, as a priest, encounters things in his job, in his ministry, but in his job that he cannot and will not bring home. So he carries this burden on his shoulders when he walks in the door, and I cannot ask him what it is, and I cannot comfort him. I guess I can comfort him, but not specifically. There's no way that I can know the reality of his ministry. And I think in that sense, I'm eternally grateful to his brother priests who are that source of support for him and understand in a way that I can never understand what he does. and what he experiences. I think it's also a challenge because church is such a huge part of my life, has been a huge part of my childhood and my young adult time. And I want my children to have that same experience, but they are having a very different experience than I did as just a regular parishioner. We walk this balance between, we are just parishioners, but we also are the clergy family. And I think they're going through an experience that I can't understand. And I hope for them, for our children, I'm preserving the church as a sanctuary and a place of feeling safe and loved, and making sure that they love the church genuinely and not end up resenting it for the challenges that it brings, naturally. That's the fine line that we walk. But it's a beautiful, beautiful life, and the blessings are abundant. So the challenges are there, but the blessings they far outweigh the challenges. Oh, it's my turn, so I'll pick number 5.
There you go, number 5. Okay, so we're getting there. Presbytera.
3 in a row.
You're gonna be sick of me.
Oh, here we. Can they hear me? Yep. Can hear me. Okay. You are a young, expectant mother raising right now 2 engaging children and another on the way. Are you at all able to enjoy any free time? And if so, what does Natalie time look like?
Free time is more abundant right now than it has been in the past. My children the funny thing is they're at this older age where they're much more self-sufficient and they entertain themselves. That's going to change again. So life goes through these cycles. But I'm also a teacher. I was teaching while we were up in Boston. So free time might have been sparse, but when I got it, I loved sewing. Sewing was a place where I could de-stress and unwind and just feel at peace and happy. But I also I love community. I love friendships, and I love building that community. And I truly enjoy having friendships where we can just sit and enjoy each other's company. And I know that's not me time, but it fulfills me. So if I have the ability, that's how I choose to spend it. I also love my husband, and in the rare occasion where we get to go on a date or spend time together.
Very rare occasion, yeah.
Well, let's see. Shall we have
Oh, is it?
I don't know. Every time we ask Father to select
Not
a
working
number,
out.
Let's go with number 2.
let's go with number 2. Father.
Got lucky, huh?
You got lucky. Who is your favorite author, and what are some books you have read perhaps in the past 6 months that you might recommend?
Reading books these days is very difficult, like ever since I was assigned to a parish and ordained, difficult just to find the time. I find myself, since ordination, really being more of a snippet reader online, reading articles, reading parts of various Orthodox literature and funny stuff as well. The beauty of technology, but I think we all can relate to, is when we're able to send funny things, funny stories to one another, and we keep that connection with our relationship, but we're also doing some reading. I definitely, I would say, I've always been inspired personally by Father Anthony Cronjeras' work. I really would classify him as a timeless Orthodox author. And I think his writings for clergy and for everyone Orthodox can be very inspiring. Particularly, my path to try and become a better preacher, become better connected to the congregation. I found his writings, I still go back again and again. So he's one of those authors that I never really deplete the well of finding something new and something inspiring for me now in my priesthood. And we lost him recently, so may God rest his soul, he was really not only a one-of-a-kind Orthodox priest that left behind a legacy, but a timeless author within our church.
Who's choosing? We'll let you decide.
We'll go with 7.
7. I had mine. Because it was for father.
Okay, right.
No, I really don't know what order these are in, honestly. So, father, okay. What motivated you to become a priest? And what keeps you going?
When I talk about what led me to the priesthood and that grace that was placed in my heart, I can't help but go back to my childhood, because that seed was certainly planted in me at a very young age. And it's always tied to the priest that I grew up under, Father Tryphon, who served St. Nicholas in Tarpon Springs for 30 years. And I have unique memories, some that I hold close to my heart, that I don't really share, because he never wanted a lot of his Christian work to be known by others. And I still respect that of him. And I remember some beautiful memories, like going around with him with his trunk full of turkeys year-round, to randomly drop them off at random people's addresses in poor neighborhoods to offer them food. And no one knew about it. Nobody necessarily gave him money for it. But he saw in me a desire to be connected to the church. Maybe he saw in me a potential seed to become a priest. And he did his job, and he offered his service in cultivating in me a spirit of desiring to serve the church as a priest. So from a young age, I loved the church. I loved everything about it. And I went through my classic teenage struggles of going in and out and being warm and hot with the faith as popularity and our friends challenged all of us during that period. But it was always in my heart that I wanted my whole life to be about the church. And thank God, and I give thanks to God every day that I'm doing what I love. When people, and many careers and professions, people relate to this, but I genuinely have never felt that I'm doing work. We talk hours, right? How many hours have you worked this week? How many hours did you put in? But it never, thank God, it never felt like that. It never has, and I believe it will continue that way. Because what we do as priests, by and large, it's all about people. It's all about people. And you asked me a question earlier. I don't think I fully answered, but the thought just came to my mind that ties into this. What's the best advice clergy have given to me? And it's love the people. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Two more questions. Oh,
Okay.
you choose the number.
I'll let you choose.
All right, my
Okay.
turn. Number 11.
Number 11. Okay.
I had 3 in a row, so I feel like, okay.
I-
no, it's
okay.
fine.
Well, Presbytera, here we go.
Okay.
Okay. Would you recount for us the conversations that you had with your children explaining that the family would be moving from Massachusetts to Naples, Florida, and what was their reaction?
Well, I'll be upfront and honest and say that the move was a whirlwind for all of us. And there, perhaps he'll want to tell himself.
Nico, what was your response when we told you that we're going to be moving to Florida?
I don't remember. I do not remember.
It wasn't traumatizing then.
No, I think in a lot of ways it was excitement. We have water babies. They love the water, and they don't have a long enough summer ever in Boston. There's not enough heat for them to last. So they were very excited to be close to water, close to family, close to fishing. Nico specifically was looking forward to being able to go fishing. So I think, especially in light of the challenging year that we've had, where I keep saying there's so many goodbyes that children have to say in a move. They had already said a lot of those goodbyes, whether it was to friends and play dates in school.
The coronavirus,
Yes.
as crazy as it sounds, set us up with a lot of disconnection that was already there.
Yeah.
Horribly.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking because their lives had become so disconnected from what they were last year. So their goodbyes had already been said over the year, and for them this was very exciting. There was a lot of new and exciting and things to look forward to. So I hope it continues. I hope that they continue to be excited about where we are.
The last question goes to Father. Can you share a favorite memory of growing up in Tarpon Springs?
Epiphany and Easter in Tarpon Springs is a one-of-a-kind, unique experience. I can't just say Epiphany, I can't just say Easter there. And I thought it was so growing up in Tarpon Springs, but when I left and was exposed to so many other parishes, I still look back and say, yep, that was a unique experience. For those of you who haven't been, Epiphany in Tarpon Springs is something that you remember always, and so is Easter there. I'll always appreciate the experience of being just, everything about our lives was dripping with tradition and with some sort of tie to the past. With that comes the challenges of changing and progress and moving forward, but it was a unique experience of being in such deep tradition.
Well, we've completed this portion of the program, and now we go to our next part, which is a tisket, a tasket. It's time to choose some questions from the basket, and these are questions that we have received from parishioners who are watching live stream today. And so, Father, you'll find the Nico, would you like to help with that basket and help Mom and Dad select a question that they can answer?
Let's see. What did you pick? This one is to Father from Cynthia Johnston. Hold on. It says, tell us about your role or accomplishments at your former church.
So accomplishments, I've always thought, whether as a priest or as human beings, we got to kind of tamper, I suppose, right? Anything we do that's good in this life, we should always give glory to God and always sort of consider God to be that driving force that gives us the ability to do it. What I was most happy and proud of my former parish is that the community worked very hard to develop a culture and just a presence of being a close-knit family. And we had just a beautiful, deep connection, everyone as a family. Coffee fellowships were always packed, and everyone was such a beautiful thing to see. There was such a warmth there. And I know in my heart that their new priest, assigned there, Father Alex, is going to continue, and the community is going to continue growing and do wonderful things. And I think that's what I'm happiest about, and what I'm proudest of the community, you know, how they have grown to really be a family, and the beautiful collaboration that they have working together. All of us do, as priests, as ministry leaders, as people in the church, we all give with our hearts, of our time and our ability, and we all hope and pray that God will bless our endeavors. Sometimes things work, sometimes things don't work, But when we're opening up our hearts to one another and we're working together, all things are possible in every parish. I really believe that. Okay.
Turn to draw a question. And I think there should be some parishioners' names assigned with each
This is
question.
a
if
funny
you could-
one. I'm surprised by this one.
Very good. See, we knew you would be.
I am
Show
surprised.
Presbytera.
Are you going to read it?
I'll
You
read
will
it.
read it, but I want you to see who it's from.
This is, so I shouldn't say who this is from, or I can? Oh, okay. This is to both of us from Bishop Sebastian via the live stream. Your Grace, hello. How long have you known me, Bishop Sebastian, and was I kind to you?
You go first.
It's most especially funny and humorous for both of us because we've known Bishop Sebastian well beyond the few months and his connection here to Naples. Actually, when I had heard that I was going to be assigned to Naples, and then I heard that Bishop Sebastian was sort of the interim here filling in, I started cracking up, right? I said, what are the odds of that? Because Bishop Sebastian was my parish priest for a short period of time, unfortunately, in Tarpon Springs. It was during a period when His All Holiness Patriarch Bartholomew came to Tarpon Springs for Epiphany, and that was something I'll never forget in my lifetime. But Bishop Sebastian came into Tarpon Springs after Father Tryphon, who was there for 30 years. And it was a difficult, I say this as a priest, understanding the dynamic of parishes and transitions, and that would have been and was an extremely difficult situation. And he embraced all of us with so much love, especially the youth. I was just out of high school and college at the time, and we had, obviously, high schoolers and college kids. We grew up with Father Tryphon. We had such a deep emotional connection to him. But Bishop Sebastian came in and just drenched us in love. He listened to our pain. He listened to our complaints about how, we were so hurt that Father Tryphon had passed away and what have you. And he won us over with patience and love. And I really found that to be a beautiful style that he has. And so I have fond memories of him from my youth and then as a bishop. And certainly when I came here, I looked forward to having that dynamic, being a young priest, being able to work alongside him and stand at the altar. And you had his grace in Marietta.
When I moved to the United States and landed in Marietta, he was the parish priest. He was there, much like Father Tryphon. He was in Marietta for many years. I don't know if it was quite 30, but close to. And he built the community. Was very, very much loved, and we were very hurt when Tarpon Springs took him. But such is the nature of clergy life. But he's close to my family, and there was one summer, my family has connections to Galimnos, and he came and visited Galimnos and spent some time with my family in Greece, on the island. And in Greece, people tend to be a little more suspicious and cautious of priests, the Greeks who live there. And I got to watch him just win over the hearts of the locals. If you had seen, we took him around, we took him on the little boat rides, and we took him to the restaurants and showed him the island. And he just won the hearts of anybody he spoke to. It was a beautiful experience. So a wonderful, young childhood memory of mine, but also just a front row seat to the gift of love. When a priest is given time to connect and love, what a difference it can make.
Hey, Presbytera, I think it's your turn.
Yes.
That might be the same one. Is
It is.
Just discard that one. I'm sorry.
Okay. This is to Father from Nicole Galliford via the live stream. Young families today are often challenged with balancing sports, social, family activities, and attending church on Sundays. What are your thoughts, and how can you be of assistance to help them with these challenges?
Presbyter, I was watching our son just now almost do something horrific, so I paid no attention to the question you just asked. Would you please ask it one more time? But he didn't go over the clip, so we're all right.
I hope he heard that. Young families today are often challenged with balancing sports, social, family activities, and attending church on Sundays. What are your thoughts, and how can you be of assistance to help them with these challenges?
The sports and the Sunday events for young families, unfortunately, I highly doubt are going to
I like you.
Unfortunately, we are competing for people's time, as we know very well, and there are a lot of activities that we soon are going to be challenged with as well with our own children. What I found to help, and perhaps it is a good thing for St. Catherine as well, is simply to try to be as consistent as possible with church times. If church starts at 9:30, we try to respect people's time with it starting at 9:30. If communion and dismissal for Sunday school is 10:30, we try to keep it at 10:30. And when we tell families everything's coming to conclusion, we bring it to conclusion so that they can go about their afternoon. And Sunday, we're not putting them into a corner that Sunday has to be church and you simply cannot have anything else. Because unfortunately, the reality is, as many parishioners have said to me, Father, we simply cannot do that. So we have to work with young families in compromising ourselves a bit where we can, and listening to them and their challenges so that we can try to work with them to find ways on Sundays and other days during the week to keep the young families in our church. It was a challenge up north. I'm sure it's a challenge here. It's a challenge everywhere. But we have to open up our doors and be creative in the ways that
I love you.
young families. And creating an environment for them to be able to commiserate a bit.
I love
How awful it can be to have your child pulled in 1,001 different directions. And it is a challenge for us in our society. It's a tough choice, and the church, I believe, should be part of the conversation. And to the extent that we can do that, to listen to families and to help them in navigating these challenges and working with them so that the church can remain part of their lives, we have to do so. But it's not going to disappear, the activities and the sports and what have you on Sundays. We pray for it, but I think it's going to remain.
Okay, Father.
All right, this question is for me from Alan Johnson via the live stream. Hello, Alan. What is your vision for our congregation? A great question, a very challenging question. What I would say is that I do not come here to offer you my vision for your congregation. What I mean in framing it that way is that I believe we all are starting a relationship together. We all have to have a conversation together about what is best for our church community moving forward. What does the future look like? What is our vision so that all of us can have buy-in terms of what we're passionate about, in terms of what we'd like to see for our community, in terms of what I can do to best serve those needs and be here for all of you. So I wouldn't say that I have a vision of what's best for St. Catherine. I wouldn't find that to be effective, quite honestly. And I think it's important that we come together, we have a dialogue so that we're able to plot a course forward with a vision, because it's necessary. Who said those without vision perish? Is it in Proverbs? I think it's in Proverbs, it's a common expression. It's very important. We have to have vision and foresight for the future so that we're working towards something. But what we're working towards, we all need to contribute and feel energized and passionate about. Your turn.
Okay, Presbyter.
For Father, from Cleo Venedis, via live stream, noting that you were an adjunct and visiting faculty at Hellenic College, teaching courses in Byzantine music and ecclesiastical chant in English. What is your vision for the St. Catherine Choir once we safely return to singing?
Again, I would say I look forward to hearing the beautiful work that you have been doing and returning back to the active ministry that you had here. In terms of the background of my being an instructor of Byzantine music at Holy Cross, yes, I deeply enjoy Byzantine music. I'm very passionate about it. I've studied it my entire life. But I also grew up in a context of having a large choir with the organ and with Western music being sung in the Divine Liturgy each and every Sunday. And I'm very passionate about our choirs. I find it not only to be uplifting from the doxology all the way to the end of the Divine Liturgy, but I also find it to be a beautiful way of connecting children to the liturgy, of connecting adults, of connecting Yaya and Papu to come into the choir and see their grandchildren. So again, it's very much a family/church affair to have an active choir. And in whatever way I can bring my past to the table, so to speak, to help the choir and to help our music ministry, I certainly offer that. But I think the most important thing, as we all know in all of our ministries, music or otherwise, is to try to tap someone new, someone else on the shoulders to get them involved. We all have to be doing it, not just Father Dimitri, but we all have to try to tap someone on the shoulders to get involved in various ministries. That's the way we get people more active, and we have to support our music ministry. This is I could easily turn this into a lecture when we start asking questions about music in the church. This is what I was used to lecturing on. But if you close your eyes and you imagine coming into an Orthodox church and there's no music whatsoever, I would challenge you to describe what experience, if any, you're going to have. What feelings or emotions, if any, you're going to have. Our music is a strong part of what elevates us to the heavenly realm. As St. Cyril and Methodius said, when they traveled from Russia to go to Constantinople to see what is this Gloria Byzantium, they weren't really describing the theology necessarily, they weren't really describing the iconography necessarily, they were describing the musical experience of feeling like they were in heaven. We have to support our divine liturgy. And what I mean when I say that is not just attending, we have to support the music of our church. So I look forward, and I was missing in my former parish our choir. And I hope and I pray from the bottom of my heart that our choir returns soon so that we can be together to sing during Holy Week, the Lamentations, and Easter, and be able to be lifted up together to that heavenly realm we all enjoy when we come to church.
I have a bit of a follow-up question on that before we proceed. In your teaching years, I'm sure you came across some outstanding students who shared your passion and your love and the emotion you felt. Is there one in particular that some of us may know?
Yes.
That you could comment on? Don't open the grade book, but share a bit about Anthony Linderman.
Anthony Linderman was one of my students in were you in advanced ecclesiastical chant or ecclesiastical chant 2? Ecclesiastical chant 2 at Holy Cross. He was always prompt. He always had his head buried in the book. So regardless of skill ability, I always applauded and always was generous in grading when somebody put forth the effort, right? Because Christ himself tells us, what we sow, we will reap. Maybe not necessarily within one semester, but we have to hold out hope that what somebody sowed, they will eventually reap. But I enjoyed my experience, and I will miss teaching at Holy Cross. It was a unique experience for me, especially being young and being able to get into one field that I was so passionate about from my childhood, and being able to teach at the place that I went to as a student. And I hold that experience dear for the rest of my life, certainly.
Thank you, Anthony. And the last question, I believe.
Okay. To Presbytera Natalie from Ms. Vasiliki Lempesis via the live stream. Considering the limitations on your time raising young children, which ministries, if any, are you most likely to participate in, and why?
Limitations on my timing will be more so with the coming child, but I think that this has evolved over time and should evolve over time for anybody. As a young, prior to marriage, I was very involved in dance. I got very involved in the choir and in chanting when meeting my husband. I've been involved, now that I have children, I've been very involved with Sunday school and the youth ministries because that just naturally fits with my stage of life. And I think that's the truth of just our life. We go through these cycles and these changes that, naturally we have interests that just fit with what we're doing. I hope that everybody, if you're listening, that you realize that we have different gifts and we have different periods in our life where we have different things we can offer. I want my children to learn what talents God has gifted them with and use those talents to glorify God. There was a time where Nico was very, very, very interested in singing. He still is, but it's his choice to use his gift to glorify God. It's their calling to find how they can serve their church community and do it. I have to be involved in the church. I can't be someone who sits in the pews. I struggle with losing focus, with not being able to stay connected continuously. So I look for ways to be involved. And I hope that everybody knows that they have their own unique gifts that they bring. And even if you're a choir member and someone else is a choir member, your gifts and your offering to the choir are unique from the person next to you. So I will continue to try and be involved in the choir when I don't have a crying baby on me. I will continue to hopefully be involved in teaching. Teaching is a passion of mine, so I'd love to be involved in Sunday school. And I'd like to do family-style gatherings that we had started, where we bring the community together, not just the youth, but the family, to spend time together. And hopefully in time, I'll have the time to devote to those ministries.
I would help you on Sundays if I could.
Thank you. Well, this portion of our evening was going to be devoted to your children. It's your call. Can we invite them up?
So one of the things that we do is we let them decide what they...
Understandable. I see one's ready for a microphone. Maybe he'd like to interview you.
Oh.
Do you have any questions for your mom and dad? Now's the chance.
Mr. Nicholas Mott.
Nicholas, I have a question for you.
What?
Who is the better cook, your mom or your dad? Neither.
Neither.
Who's really
ouch.
the best cook in the family?
What would Eliana say? Who is the better cook?
I think the reason yes, so one of his recent interests is cooking, and Nico is quite the chef in the kitchen.
What's your favorite dish that you're going to make for me when I come visit?
What do you like to cook the most? Okay.
What's his dish?
He loves tacos personally. So I
Scratch
think
that.
No, don't blow.
Like Taco Tuesday?
Taco every day.
Taco every day. Okay.
Oh, what we're getting. we're gonna have pizza tonight,
Oh,
but
awesome.
I really like this sausage pasta stuff. It has like Italian sausage and pasta without like the sauce.
Well, especially
That-
coming
that's
from
probably
Boston,
one of my favorite
Italian.
dishes.
Eliana, come on over if you have a moment. Sit
wanna
on
sit
your
on my
dad's lap.
She
Wanna
doesn't
sit on my
have a
lap?
microphone.
Okay, my next question. I can't tell something. You look to be about like 15, maybe 12 or 16. How old do you think your mom is?
33.
Wow, it's very good.
Is your mic on?
And your dad?
31.
Good job.
31.
Nico has a steel trap memory. It does not forget.
Excellent, excellent.
I remember 5 years ago when we went to that playground near my old school, which I had no idea was a school. I thought it was a police office.
Uh-oh. So when you have playtime with your mom and dad, what do you like to do? If they were to tell you, Nico, let's go do something you like, what would you respond? How would you respond?
We would usually use Beyblades, or I would pull out some sticks that I just found, and me and my dad would start whipping them.
Wow.
Like lightsabers.
Nice.
We've always been like a fan of like Star Wars and things like that.
Okay, wonderful. So now that you're in Southwest Florida, be honest, are you beach or a pool guy? Would you rather go to the beach or would you rather go swimming in a pool?
I think I would go in a really big pool.
Really big pool. Off the
'Cause
diving
whenever
board?
I go in, me and Dad, maybe I'm leaning on both, but like me and Dad used to get up where like it would get up to like his neck, his chin, and we would go deep out, and that would just be scary. I would thought, hey, is there a shark under us or something? And I would just always be scared.
No sharks in the pool.
No sharks. I'm with you. I stick
But
to the pool.
yeah, you can be in the big pool.
There you
A
go.
big pool. That would be nice.
Well, my phone is over there, so I can't show your mom and dad the video that your mom posted. I believe it was in the spring, last great Lent, of your children having dinner. And the DeVerises sent it to me.
Oh, yes.
I talked to your son about it earlier. But Spiro, if you could go ahead and show the video to our live streaming guests. And for those of you present, I am more than happy to email the link. But can you, President, could you kind of explain the gist of that dinner time routine?
Yeah, well.
No, thank you.
We're not going to show it.
No, listen, I'm just going to tell them what happened. So this was right after churches had closed down in the midst of the pandemic. And so it was Lent, and it was, I think, a Wednesday night Paraklesis. And we were getting used to having to live stream services at home. And how do I get young children to participate in a service on a screen? It was all very new. But one thing that we passionately believe, and I think this is true for anybody who knows anything about education, is that music is the connection. It's the tool that you can use to help, memorize things or learn things, but also connect. So they've always been with me in the choir. We always sing prayers at night. And when I was streaming the service, and we were eating dinner because that's just the nature of Paraklesis with young children, but they were singing along, and it was just this beautiful reminder for me that there are so many hard moments in parenting in church, but there are just these moments where it connects, and it's magical, and it's beautiful, and God shows that it's worth it.
And thank you for sharing that. Well, I think we've come to the end. It wasn't quite the Barbara Walters special. No one cried.
It was the St. Catherine special, though,
There you
for
go.
sure.
It wasn't Oprah. We didn't give away cars. But we thank you so much. And I want to convey one parishioner's comment that he emailed me. Ironically, I did not know about Father Conaris and your relationship. Mr. Chris Macris is a former parishioner from Minnesota, and he wanted me to share this, and I thought it was a significant moment as you begin to build this positive momentum and create the bonds of trust with your new parishioners. Here's what he writes. I really do not have a direct question, but rather a comment. I thought Father Dimitri Mott did an excellent job this past Sunday in a couple of areas. His pace of the liturgy was excellent, with an exclamation point, and so was his message in his sermon. We were out for coffee at 11 a.m. with a memorial service, introduction of the new board, and some additional comments. I also liked the fact that there was more English used by him and the chanter. Perhaps the chanter, and when the choir resumes, they ought to sing more English. But again, I thought that feedback for you, perhaps taking this with you tonight is something that you will remember.
Thank you for sharing that. And if you permit me, in closing, Cynthia, to thank you and Betty, our creative director for this evening, for this really beautiful opportunity, giving me the opportunity to connect with the parishioners via the live stream and those of you here present this evening. And I hope we can have many, many more dialogues like this to get to know each other better.
Well, with faith, hope, and love, we welcome you.
Thank you.
And we hope your ministry at St. Catherine is fulfilling, is meaningful, and joyful.
Thank you very much.
Again. Thank you, everyone.